All right. Welcome, everybody, to the KFS postgame show powered by BetUS. Macri, as is tradition, it seems, leaves me with a doozy of a game to postgame with you all. There's a lot to process there. I'll tell you how it could have gone, because as you all know, anybody who listens to any pods that I do or follows me on Twitter knows that I am not going to make any sweeping conclusions before really the 20 game mark. And so I am trying to remain extremely level-headed throughout this beginning stage of this experiment, this new team. This could have tested that resolve, because had this gone the way it looked like it was going to go midway through the third quarter, I was going to make some statements on here that were more definitive and negative than I've been allowing myself, because the effort was putrid. The energy was absent. The pride, frankly, was totally missing from a basketball team that I've become very accustomed to upholding their end of the bargain night to night in terms of effort and care. That was one of the worst 2.5 quarters in the Tibbs era. Like I couldn't believe what I was watching on some of those defensive possessions. Zero resistance. Zero pride. That's how it could have gone, and this would have been a whole different postgame. Then Karl Anthony Towns, I thought, primarily finally decided to take some pride on the defensive end and made, I would say, 4 straight possessions of really good basketball plays defensively, 2 that caused turnovers, which began this crazy comeback, absurd comeback where he drove it with absurd ease of scoring. It is disturbing how easily that guy can score. It is so easy. And it was a wild run of both shot making and driving and dunking and fouls, and where the Knicks were in position to win this game. They were right there. And I think because there is a segment of the fan base who is questioning whether this team has the resolve and the attitude and the grit of last year's team, there was a moment tonight where I was going to come over to your side and say, maybe we're missing that. And I think that despite losing this game, and we'll get into the final moments, I actually come away feeling encouraged by the resolve. Because it on the second night of a back-to-back, getting your head blown in through 2.5 quarters, many of these guys played 40 minutes or close to 40 minutes last night. This is an easy game to punt. Chicago was making shots, to their credit. Zach LaVine was on fire. Didn't have it. They could have gone home tonight. And the fact that they didn't, I think, is significant and meaningful, and I think dispels some of the feelings that had crept into the discourse about this team's resolve and attitude and grit and care factor. And that was great to see. That this became as exciting a ball game as it became was a treat. The defense stinks. That no concerns about this defense were assuaged in this game. Like, their defense stinks. They have a long way to go to get to where we hope they can get to, average or better defensively. Like, that, there were portions of this game where I don't think I've ever seen a team score more easily than the Bulls scored. The offense is great. Like, nothing changed in terms of the outlook right now for this team to me. And certainly nothing about the last few moments of the game is going to change anything. The fact that Josh Hart commits a foul, we can debate the degree to which it was a foul. I think it was a reckless closeout, probably in that situation. You're not going to change my mind about Josh Hart and like the fact that he should close games for this team. He's made too many big plays already in his Knicks career to like start getting on him too much. It was a bad foul, bad play. Okay. And I'm certainly not going to change my opinion about Jalen Brunson because a shot came as close to going in as is humanly possible and yet didn't, after making 2 clutch buckets to put them in that position and coming within a fraction of an inch of sending them to a crazy win. My opinion is not going to change about Jalen Brunson. It's not going to change about many guys on the roster, if any. Like, that's not what this game was about to me. But there is a significance and a meaning. There's a weight to me to the fact that they dug somewhere where we have not seen them dig yet. We didn't see it against Boston, certainly. We didn't see it against Indiana, as Indiana blew their doors off in the fourth quarter. Like, to have that fortitude to somehow find it, that was an element that I had not seen yet. The doubt was starting to creep in there. And ultimately, they found a way to give themselves a legitimate chance to win the game. And they didn't win the game. They will win games like this. Close games with Jalen Brunson closing and Karl-Anthony Towns on offense doing what he does. We should get into the defensive issues. There will be time to continue to get into the defensive issues. I will probably do a film session tomorrow on the defensive issues. Those aren't going away. The offense is powerful. Karl-Anthony Towns is a uniquely powerful weapon at the 5. But that to me is the takeaway. Out of everything, to me, the takeaway is, okay, there's a fight and there's a pride and there's a care factor that I think some of us were worried about. So I am positive, I am sure that there will be a lot of negative super chats tonight. I get it. That is a crushing loss. And the frustration of the first 2.5 quarters shouldn't just be dismissed. That effort was embarrassing. So I'll get there with you. We can get angry about it. And yet I find myself, as the game ended and I'm sitting there on my hands and knees as that ball rims out, I found myself thinking, all right, at least there's some spirit to this team. And that is my chosen main takeaway. I don't know if I've convinced you, but that's where I'm at. We could talk about the individual performances. Cat is the standout. That was just an absurd display of elite scoring that very few guys in the league can reach. He's a very special offensive player. Cam Payne, I think, is number 2 because, man, I was like, hey, let's just give Kolek a shot at some points, and he showed you why he's going to have a role on this team until there's like a very convincing evidence that he should not. He played great. He was integral, essential to that run. The shot making, but not just the shot making. He made all his shots tonight. His spirit defensively, his energy that was desperately needed on a night when obviously the starters didn't have it. That's what you're looking for from Cam Payne, is like, come in and give a burst of energy. Hadn't really seen that to any great extent so far this season. I thought tonight was a classic example of what he can provide to this team. That was great to see. OG was stuck in the mud tonight. I didn't think he was particularly impactful defensively nearly as much as he normally is. I was a little surprised that he didn't really get a consistent shot to guard LaVine. Mikal Bridges had that assignment. I think the idea was because you had some lesser offensive players on the floor, whether it was Patrick Williams or Terry, it allowed him to roam, especially when the Knicks were trapping up high. So OG was on the back line defending, filling in those gaps. I understood it from that perspective, but at some point with LaVine just going absolutely bonkers, especially at the end of the first half, put your best defender on him. But yeah, OG played the most minutes last night, has been playing out of his mind, didn't really have a ton to offer tonight. Still had a few dunks, had his moments, but it was probably the worst OG game of the season, I would say. Bridges, man. Interesting Bridges game. I thought his contribution with Brunson out, kind of leading that offense with Cat and Payne, I thought he made some big mid-range jumpers. He made one big three. Some of the threes still look terrible. Defensively, there's something just lacking, though. And that's still my biggest concern, even though the shot is I am monitoring and slightly concerned and wondering when it's going to come around. The lack of impact defensively, just a way that I don't feel like anybody is feeling him. Like Levine was like, even though he forced him into some tough turnarounds, like it never felt like Levine was bothered whatsoever by Mikal Bridges' defense. And that is troubling, considering, again, and we're always going to go back to this because that it is what it is. The picks, the amount of picks that were traded to get this guy on the assumption that he's an elite defender, that he can take a lead ball handler and limit him. And we just haven't seen it consistently enough, certainly. And I would say more often than not, we have not seen it. Like, to the negative, we have not seen it. I didn't think tonight was any different. But some good flashes offensively, and one of his better games offensively for sure. And so progress, but we still need more on the defensive end from him. Josh Hart did a lot of Josh Hart things, made some huge plays in transition. The last play just sucks. What are you going to do? It sucks. And Brunson, weird game. In the first half, he basically could take whatever shot he wanted. I thought he could have had 30 in the first half. He actually had a decently efficient, whatever, he had 18 or something, but I felt like he left a ton on the table. Second half, they tightened up on him, and they go on the big run without him on the floor. So it's not a great Brunson game. I know the numbers he finished with are okay, and he made 2 super clutch shots. You can't discount that. I still want the ball in his hands down the stretch of games. He's ice cold in those scenarios. The last shot sucks it didn't go, and that could have been a really cool moment. Still don't feel like Brunson's quite found his superstar level. And the numbers will tell you he's still been really excellent. But I think anybody who's watched him last year through the playoffs, like, understands that he's not quite at 100% Jalen Brunson. He's also, I should mention, he pretty badly tweaked an ankle last night. And so I don't know how much that was affecting him, but it's fair to wonder if it was. So that's Brunson. Did I miss anybody? I thought Deuce in the first half made some terrible decisions. Rim reads, that terrible shot selection, but he made enough plays in the second half. He was on the floor during that run. Defensively, I thought he held his own. He did a good job. Wasn't nearly Deuce's best game of the season, but he still provided the spark. Sims barely played when he was in there. He was kind of okay. Nothing. I didn't think anything stood out bad or good. I think that's pretty much the roster. I think I covered everybody. And with that, yeah. So again, understand crazy. I was apoplectic after the first 2.5 quarters. I was rejuvenated the last quarter and a half. I found some spirit as the team found spirit, and that's where I'm choosing to go with this as kind of my conclusion. And hope that will remain positive. Look, team's under 500 again, but I still think there's a lot to look forward to, a lot to be excited about as they are trying to figure this out. So with that, Andrew.
Hey, Benji. How are you?
I'm good. He leaves me with the doozies. This was a crazy game.
I will say this wasn't the normal doozy that he leaves you with. It was 2.5 quarters of it looking that way. But no, you got the one that hurts.
Oof.
You know?
What was your pose as that shot rimmed out?
A lot of couldn't believe it. For those honestly, watching, just hands over my face.
I really felt bad for Hart. You saw his reaction as that ball rimmed out. Like, that's not like something that you expect from him. And he made a lot of big plays in that game. What a shame. What a freaking shame they couldn't pull that out. Do we have any other segments that I need to hit before we hit the shadows?
Well, our first segment is the Autograph signature moment of the game. So shout out to Autograph, our friends at Autograph. You can download the Autograph app wherever you have a cell phone, wherever your app store is, whether it be Apple, Android. I actually don't know if any other phone exists. Download the Autograph app though, and follow the Knicks Room. I believe John does little segments on there, the 3x3s. He goes live before games sometimes, so check that out on the Autograph app. Do I need to say what the signature moment of this game was? I can't believe that didn't go in. I'm gonna load up the photo, but let me ask you what your signature moment was that you thought, oh, they might act like the comeback's on, because they had some fake comebacks to start, but they weren't getting stops. So what was like the moment you thought this comeback might actually happen?
Yeah, so I'm trying to find the exact play that I'm talking about. Let's see if I have. Yeah, it's here. So the score is 90-74 with 2.5 minutes left in the third.
Okay.
So we say a quarter and a half. It was a 16-point game with it's really less than that of the actual comeback. And I'm sitting there waiting for somebody to show some defensive pride. Not one guy just decided I'm going to dig in and make a play. Even if I foul, I need to make a game-changing defensive play. And the last person I really expected to do that was Karl-Anthony Towns. But with 2:30 left in the third quarter, Josh Giddey's driving a closeout on Deuce McBride. I'm watching it right now live. And Cat just sticks his hands in. Just literally to two hands. Like he didn't get in front of him. He just stuck two hands in, stripped the ball, or Giddey kind of then had to fling it back out. Bridges gets the steal. They get two going the other way. That was the first possession where I felt like someone tried to make a play. Like someone actually tried to make a defensive play, and it worked. And that kind of started the snowball. So that, to me, is a signature play. Like, I identified that right away. I said, that is the first play like that all game long. And by the way, he backed it up with 3 more defensive plays on the next 3 possessions that really got the ball rolling. So there's your signature play. Signature moment of the game presented by Autograph is a random Josh Giddey turnover with 2.5 left in the third quarter, which I thought gave the Knicks their first glimmer of hope.
That was 90-74?
90-74.
So mine will be 2 plays later when Campaign hit a 3 to make it 90-79. And it was like, oh, we're getting a Campaign game, after I was saying earlier that I mean, you've also said this, but like I'm here for the Kolek switch whenever Tibbs is ready. And if the question is, can Tyler Kolek defend? And I would respond with, can Campaign offend? Well, he was offending tonight. That's for sure. You know, yeah. Just one last look to drive the point home. How does this not go in? How is this not a made field goal?
Jeez, look at that.
Where we're looking at it for those listening on the feed, we're looking at the ball in the cylinder about halfway down. That's the red light
truly
on.
Like halfway down is overused. It's often not actually halfway down. That is truly halfway down. You can see half the ball above the cylinder.
Yeah.
Wow.
You could even argue there's more ball in the rim than
that
out
is
of the rim.
Some shot.
Yeah. So
brutal.
Extremely.
Look, the margins are very fine when it comes to winning basketball games. The Knicks actually in this game, I would say, it's funny. Like it felt like they gave away the game in the first almost 3 quarters, and to think that it came down to a ball spinning out, but it shows you got to value every possession. The Knicks certainly did not do that tonight. They did not value half the game, if not more. So yeah. Hopefully there's a lesson learned there. Maybe it's a back-to-back thing. I don't think that excuses the level of pathetic basketball that was played. It excuses some of it, but not all of it. And again, no sweeping conclusions, but you got to value the possessions, every possession of every game. And I do think it's a bit of a trend now where have we really seen them come out of the gate and get it to a 10-point lead early? Maybe Detroit.
Detroit and Milwaukee.
Milwaukee too. Yeah, that's true.
And to an extent, Indiana, because that I think is the thing. They're catching teams on the right night, and then they go run and hide. You know, there hasn't been. This I think was the first competitive game that we've seen where it went one way and then one team came back. You know, the Celtic game was a blowout from the beginning, and there was never really a game after that. You know, the Miami game was back and forth the whole time. Every other game was back and forth the whole time. which is why I think this was. I mean, I had the same conclusion you did. The fact that this looked like it was headed toward a blowout, and I even said to myself in the third quarter, this team last year makes a run, and I don't know if they have that this
And I was
year.
gonna, and I was planning kind of, obviously as the game goes on, you're thinking about what you're gonna say when you come on here, and I was gonna talk about how like at some point in the game, Hartenstein gets a block at the rim.
Yep.
That just changes the whole tenor of the game. Or honestly, sometimes Julius bowls over 3 guys on an offensive rebound and yells at the crowd, and that gets the team going. Like some energy injectors. They didn't. Where was that going to come from tonight? And man, Cat just like decided to totally take over the game for a solid quarter.
Cat and campaign. Cat and campaign. Who knew?
The two most important acquisitions. No shots at you, Mikal Bridges.
Clearly.
The
Nets come into town over the weekend, by the way.
Some positive signs on the offensive end.
Yes.
I think that's clear. I'm very surprised and slightly disturbed by the lack of defensive substance. It feels like guys are kind of going through them right now.
I didn't like that because you mentioned the turnarounds that LaVine was taking on him. Those you live with. Those are tough shots from a gifted scorer. I didn't like how much LaVine was taking him off the dribble, and it was unimpeded.
It's funny. I agree. Obviously, I agree with you that like contested mid-range fadeaways are not good shots, and like you live with them as a defense, and you don't want to send help and then put yourself in rotation. I don't know how to explain it other than to say sometimes those shots look like they're actually difficult, and sometimes they don't. And defenders change the feelings of those shots, and I just never felt like LaVine was even an inkling outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that bothers me.
Him having the comfort to take those shots is
and the way he took them, it was just like he knew he was getting to the move. No one forced him a different way, and it was just like easy. And I know they're not great shots, but you can just feel like he wasn't missing them. You could say similar, by the way, for like Vucevic's back downs on Cat to the left hand, but we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, time to get to the super chats.
All right.
You ready, Benji? I'll be back up a little later for.
I'm ready. I'm excited.
More Bills.
I'm energized like Karl Anthony Towns midway through the third. All righty, friends.
Speaking of midway through the third, the first 3 tonight, I believe, or 4 tonight, all came in before the game ended.
Wait, before the game ended or before
the game ended?
Before the game.
No, before the first one happened in the fourth quarter. It's
okay.
Busy. We'll start here.
All right, Busy. Always a pleasure to hear from you. Oh God. Busy says, "Let's effing go. Knicks mania." Several exclamation points. Busy at this moment was very excited. I don't know when this came in, what the score was. But you know what? Let's just say you remained very excited after the game because you liked the effort of the comeback. But yeah, they didn't win, Busy. I don't know if you turned off the TV. Maybe you'll wake up in the morning, you'll listen to this, you'll find out that they didn't in fact win. But yeah, brutal way to finish that game. Busy's back. So all right, he stayed with the broadcast. Busy says, "Win or lose, this is the fight we need." Yes, to see. Curious to see what it means that JB and OG was on the bench for the comeback. I would say it means very little. Those 2 guys, I believe, are the 2 leaders in plus minus on the Knicks at the moment. I should say before this game. So it's not like this has been a trend that the team has performed well with those 2 guys off the floor. Every game is different. Things happen. Different lineups play. I didn't think OG had it tonight, but again, I thought he had by far. The guy was so good against Philly and covered so much ground and played 41 minutes. If there's one guy that has somewhat of an excuse to not be himself, it was OG. And Brunson, by the way, hurt his ankle. So that it could be as simple as that. Those 2 guys didn't perform at their best because they were not 100% tonight. I don't think it means much those 2 guys weren't on the floor during the comeback. In fact, I thought JB made some huge, obviously, shots down the stretch. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say this. Was that play where Brunson had the steal and it went through his hands and went to Desumnu, who got fouled? Shades of Atlanta playoff game, right?
RJ.
You
Yeah,
had that too. Goes
into
game one.
Bogdanovich's hands. Yeah.
It's game one or game one?
Game one, because it led to they're up 3.
Now,
it goes through RJ's hands into Bogdanovich, who hits the 3
very
to tie it.
similar baseline drive, baseline fade, makes the pass, hits kind of the forearm. Now, in the Bogdanovich case, he made the 3. In this case, he got fouled. But if Brunson comes up with that ball, the game's over.
Yep.
Oh,
by the way,
man,
this is from MSG. Monica McNutt was doing her like post game stand-up spot where she's got the mic and she's in the garden on the court, and behind her, and she moved out of the way to show everybody, is Karl Anthony Towns, full uniform, still practicing his free throws.
That's very dramatic.
It is.
Cat
extremely is. I mean, it is.
So
I will say
that's so Karl Anthony Towns.
Of all the things that I thought about Karl Anthony Towns, he is persuading me toward a direction of soft might not have been the answer, but might not have been.
He's just goofy and a little corny.
Goofy and corny, yes, but I'll say this: he's shown a bit of a warrior side of him that I didn't know existed. Like when his back hit the stanchion in the fourth quarter and he got up, and
that was a tough one.
Just getting beaten down all night. You're earning points with this fan base, Karl Anthony.
No doubt,
that's for sure.
No doubt. Running through some numbers, the Knicks take 12 more field goals. You love that. They shot 37 threes, 15 for 37. You love that. 41%. 12 for 18 from the line. That freaking hurts. And Brunson and Towns were the ones that missed them too, which really hurts because they're good free throw shooters. And I mean, the Bulls missed 5 too, and they missed some Q1s down the stretch, but Kobe White steps up, makes 3, obviously, at the end there. 15 turnovers again, and some really bad ones. Man, Josh Hart had one in the backcourt that was killer during a momentum run. So the turnovers are still pretty high for this team. Well, I don't think actually statistically like league average. I think they're still doing very well. But during the last week and a half or so, I think it's been a little bit of a problem. Towns had 4. Bridges had 3. So you'd like to see that number come down a bit. But you like a lot of the numbers here. The only thing to really worry about to me is the defense. That's pretty much it. And it's a big issue. But thanks, Busy, for both chats. Jesse M says, not a good Hart game tonight. Couple rough plays. Yeah, so I mentioned the turnover. That was rough in the backcourt. That really hurt. And then the foul. I wouldn't, Hart made a lot of good plays in this game too. So I wouldn't say not a good Hart game. I think, what did I give him, a B? I thought he was good. 6, 8, and 6. He's a +9 on the night. He did have 2 turnovers, but didn't shoot any threes tonight. But I didn't feel like it took them out of their offense. I thought they got whatever they want offensively throughout the night. So, I think he knows when he needs to take them for the most part. I would say, excuse me, I would say not a great night, but I wouldn't say not a good Hart game. I thought he was good. Thanks, Jesse. Deadwords 604. Thank you, Deadwords, for the contribution. Don't let the comeback distract you for some dumb plays and bad defense. This team has issues they really have to work through right now. I don't think the comeback's distracting me. I think it's one of these things where you have both in your mind. I think their defense stinks. They have a long way to go to build up a decent defense. That is the first thing I said when I got on here. The defense stinks. They need to fix it. They haven't. But the comeback isn't distracting me from that, but it isn't. And they made a great comeback. That is also in my mind. They made a great comeback. They easily could have won this game at the end in a lot of different ways. And I'm not going to ignore that either. And the offense is ridiculous. It's easy. So all those things are true. It's a complex situation right now. They're sorting out. But again, as I said when the trade was made, when the cat trade was made, I'm excited with reservations. I remain excited with reservations. I think this team can still find something on the defensive end. And when they do, the offense is going to shine and destroy teams. I do believe it's going to come at some point. Does it come to the point where I think they're a real threat to the Celtics? I don't know. I'm not there yet, but we'll see. Haitian Ferg. How you doing, Haitian? Always good to hear from you, man. In a lot of capital letters, he writes, it's vital that we focus on what worked tonight. We saw what this team can do and how fast they can switch. Tough loss indeed. When you don't win, you learn. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Did I see a huge schematic change when this? Not really. Honestly, I they switched a little bit. It was still mostly drop, and they did some trapping on Levine. I don't think there was like a huge schematic shift. I think Karl Anthony Towns went off offensively, and they just got into passing lanes a bit more and forced some turnovers that allowed them to get out and run and make threes. I don't know if they're going to have any tremendous schematic takeaways though. That's interesting, Haitian. And you can message me and tell me what you saw. I'll rewatch the game obviously, but I didn't see. There was no schematic move that to me shifted everything. To me, it was just a increased defensive effort, and then Cat getting going in a crazy way on offense, and Campaign too, making some shots. But yes, when you don't win, you learn. To me, the main lesson isn't anything that they actually did during the run. The lesson is value every possession, start games with energy. Any team, I mean, you knew the Bulls can play offense. They shoot a ton of threes. Like I know the offense isn't ranked high, but it's been a pretty powerful, I should say, an explosive offense early in the year. You knew they could get going, and they did. And Levine is a bona fide excellent scorer. And when he gets going, he's hard to turn the hose off. Every team's got someone like that, man. Like it's hard to find a team now in the NBA where you'd feel like you can give a haphazard defensive effort and still stop a team. It's just impossible. Everyone shoots too many threes, too many talented players on the floor. This Bulls team they're a handful. They were up big on Cleveland, and then Cleveland stormed back and actually won. The Knicks did the same thing and didn't quite get all the way back, but they do pose some issues offensively, and the Knicks learned the hard way that you can't take anything for granted early in a game. Got to come out with focus and energy. Thanks, Haitian. Drew P. What's your Mitch and Precious minutes when healthy? Man. It's a really tough question. Assuming let's start with Precious, because Mitch is a long way off. Precious hopefully isn't that much longer, although he's still not clear for practice. This team seems to be dragging on for longer than we maybe thought. I think Precious probably plays like between 15 and 22 minutes, depending on the night. The way the roster currently is, I actually think he and Sims might both play. You saw Matt Ryan get another chance tonight. I don't think Tibbs was thrilled with his performance. They don't really have a wing right now to bring off the bench except for Deuce. So that's my sense is he'll play the foursome and the five. And I think with that, you probably get up to like 20 minutes or so. And he'll be super helpful. Mitch is tough. I mean, you assume a Precious is also in the rotation then, and Mitch, and then it's a question of how much Cat plays with a center. I personally much more enjoy the idea of Cat with Precious than with Mitch. And it's like, it's so far away in terms of like when he gets back and then like how you have to ramp him up. It's probably matchup dependent to some extent. But I think you probably see it. Mitch and Precious really split those minutes at that point. So maybe they both play around like between 14 and 18, depending on the matchup and who's performing. That's kind of my like guess, but it is a long way off to think about like how Mitch play. And by the way, this obviously assumes that Mitch is on the team by the time he comes back, and I don't think that is a guarantee at all. All right, thanks, Drew. Good question. Busy's back. Busy, you're the man. Busy says, amazing game, sad ending, but appreciate the fight, something to build off. Remember, folks, in order to win, we have to overcome adversity. Yeah, amen to that, Busy. That was my main takeaway. Is you got to, at some point, you got to show yourselves, you got to show your fan base, you got to show your coach, like there's a certain fight and resiliency. We know last year's team had it. It was good to see this team show that kind of fight. It was really good to see that. Again, hadn't seen a big comeback yet this year. In fact, I thought like Boston was total destruction, never even had a sliver of hope in that game. And Indiana, like once they ran away with it, it was like they went down pretty quietly. So, yeah, really, really good to see this team fight and claw their way back into a game. And they almost pulled it out. Thanks, Busy. Haitian is back. I meant the switch in effort. All right, Haitian, you're with me then. Okay, not the switching defense. That's what I get for trying to go cheap on the super chat. I enjoyed the fight and the response in the second half. Oh, I'm glad. I didn't know if this was going to be a super negative, frustrated post game. So far, I think it's been really positive, which is that was the response I had, man. Like ultimately, that was an extraordinarily fun second half to watch. The comeback was awesome. The crowd was awesome. Cat was a revelation. Brunson comes in and you think he's going to close it. Literally, truly a case of a couple of bounces. And in Josh Hart's case, maybe a bit of a overzealous, reckless closeout. It wasn't that much of a foul. I think there was a hand on the back, and then Kobe White kicked and honestly, I would have preferred they don't give him that call because of the ridiculousness of the way he shot that ball with his legs spraying in ways that I've never seen a shooter spray his legs. So that kind of sucks. You hate that it comes down to that. He's trying to draw that foul. He's not trying to make the shot. He almost made the shot, but he wasn't really trying to. But yeah, literally, truly, like a couple of inches. The definition of a game of inches, man. The ball's halfway down. Sucks. But yes, agreed with the sentiment. Thanks, Haitian. Jessica Elzener. How are we doing, Jessica? Always good to hear from you. Jessica, the hashtag great gelling of 24-25 continues. A valiant effort. A heartbreaking loss, but the toughness we love is making its way back little by little. Let's go, Knicks. Yes. Totally agreed. Totally agreed. And by the way, like, it matters that you know your teammates have that in you. Like, it matters that when you're looking at each other, when you're down 15-20, that each of you knows that your teammate has it in you to find the mental fortitude to get back into a game. Like, that's a real thing. Like, that's a real thing. And it means that you start to build a team where there's a self-belief, no matter the score at a given time, that we just have to find our game and we can be back in it. And that's big, man. Like, especially in today's NBA, the way leads swing back and forth and variance in three-point shooting, and 20-point leads evaporate every night in the NBA. Every night. But you have to know that you can do it, and you have to know that you can get the stops you need. And again, the defense has a long way to go, but you got enough stops there to give yourself a true chance to win the game in the last second. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Thanks, Jessica. KD Kevin Danishevsky says, excuse me, you people who want Mitch at the 5 next to Cat are silly. Gives you every bit of what he takes away defensively and more there. Gives you every bit of what he takes away. Oh, I got you. Meaning he gives you more on offense than he takes away on defense. Special performance. I don't agree it's silly. I don't agree it's silly because, and I'll tell you why. It's not silly because Minnesota had a lot of success doing essentially that. Now Gobert's better than Mitch in more ways than one. But the model is there. It's not silly to think that he needs a rim protector and a true 5 next to him to succeed at the highest level. But what you saw tonight is the reason why I don't want to concede that point yet, because there is a level he reaches offensively that is nuts. Now, it mostly happens when fives guard him. When you find teams that can put guards and wings on him, and that when he's trailing, he doesn't have that instant advantage of either I can shoot or blow by this lumbering center. I mean, Nikola Vucevic might as well have not been on the floor guarding him. He had a nice, decent offensive game. Cat gave him some looks too. But he had absolutely no chance to guard Karl-Anthony Towns. Zero chance. At some point, they switched the matchup to put Patrick Williams on him. And, it was so late in the game after Cat had that fall. So I'm not sure we really got to see Cat try to exploit that. And Brunson found that switch and was able to score a couple times late. Teams will obviously do that. They'll put Vooch or whichever center on Josh Hart and live with the consequences. Or they'll take their centers off the floor. But if you have a center that you want on offense, like the Bulls want Vooch on the floor, and he's guarding Karl-Anthony Towns, he has no chance. It is over. So that is why, Kevin, I agree with you to the extent that I don't want them to do it yet. At least not primarily. I'm okay with minutes here and there. I don't care. That's fine. Especially with the way the wing rotation is now. If the roster remains as is in January, Mitch and Precious are two of your best players that are not starting. So they might as well play, and you can play Cat at the 4 and live with that. I'm okay with that in stretches. But the right now, to me, the experiment still needs to be, can we build this defense around Cat at the 5? Can we get to a place where we're getting enough stops that the power of Cat at the 5 offensively overcomes the defensive issues? That's still, to me, the key to the season. And we still have 9 more games before any sweeping conclusions. So plenty of time. Thanks, Kev. Dan Hidalgo, thanks for the contribution. Dan, it feels like we're starting to turn the corner. Interesting. Do I agree with that? I would say they found something out about themselves tonight that is important. I don't, again, as I said at the top, I nothing about them in terms of their offensive or defensive ceiling or competence changed for me tonight. I thought in general, the offense got whatever shots they wanted. I thought in general, the Bulls got whatever shots they wanted. So I don't know if they're turning. I think they turn a corner when they have 2 or 3 consecutive solid defensive performances. I do not think they've had that yet. Thanks, Dan. Johnny Bryant. Oh, Johnny, we miss you. Oh, did Cleveland win tonight? I know they were down pretty big at the half.
They did.
Of course they did. 114-106. Jeez. Johnny Bryant. He's the game changer. Wow. Nobody played over 35 minutes for the Cavs. Interesting. Sorry. Yeah. Johnny Bryant. Sorry, your name threw me into a tangent. Team's looking worse than it ever did with me on the bench. Oh, he's actually Johnny Bryant. Who knows? Maybe I'll be back sooner rather than later. I'll do wonders with a talent like Cat. Well, I would say Tibbs is doing fine with Cat on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah, the team's looking worse than it ever did with you on the bench. Falsities. I was there in the second half of the 21-2-3. What was the bad season, Andrew? I can't remember.
21-22.
Yeah, I was there. The team looked worse then than it did tonight. I promise you that. When we were blowing 20-point leads on a nightly basis. Yeah. No, there were dark days. This is not that, Johnny. But I congratulate you on your success so far in Cleveland. You will lose the game at some point, and if we do play you in the playoffs, we'll go and beat you. How's that?
Hell yeah.
How's that? Go home, Johnny Bryant. Sam Garcia. Tough one to lose. Hart has to be smarter there. No notes, Sam. Yeah, brutal one to lose. Hart has to be smarter there. You wonder if he got into a little tussle with Levine right before that, and if the energy was a bit out of whack perhaps the adrenaline was not where it needed to be. Possible. Who knows? But yeah, it's a reckless closeout. You can't put yourself in that position. Up to, it sucks. It just sucks. It's again though, my opinion about Josh Hart did not change one inkling at all. Thank you, Sam. Bernard Richardson, Head and Shoulders is not calling you Kobe. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather. Woo, let it go, says Bernard. It is an absurd hairstyle. And it made the floppiness of the 3-point attempt even crazier. The hair was flopping all over the place. The legs were spraying all over the place. There was a lot of human just flailing. But yeah.
So are we under the impression that if Caruso takes that shot, or even like Levine takes that shot, it's not a foul?
Oh, if Caruso takes it, there's no way it's a foul.
Well, just someone with no hair. I'm saying someone with
I totally understood what you were getting at. I'm saying Caruso definitely doesn't draw that foul because for several reasons. One is he doesn't have 7 feet of afro. That's true. 2, he can't jump high enough to flail like that. And his shot is super mechanical. So, yeah, no, he wouldn't have drawn that foul, which is why they got rid of him. That's why they got rid of him.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bernard. And thank you, everybody watching live. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our friends over at BetUS. Thank you, Benjy, as always, for filling in for John. And so far, the chats are not hostile. Weird Johnny Bryant chat, but
guy, you'd think
I'm here for it.
You'd think he'd be happy. Like, he's tuning into KFS, but it's still bitter. So
listen,
bitter.
Sometimes you don't get over your ex, especially when you're thriving with your new one.
Especially when you thought you'd be the head coach here.
Right. And I'm here for fake ass Johnny Bryant sending in contributions to our channel. I appreciate every single, in fact, keep sending them in, Johnny, with that signing bonus over in Cleveland. Shout out to the fine folks over at BetUS. Are you looking for a new book this basketball season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, and use promo code YouTube150 to receive a 150% bonus on your first deposit, as well as a 125% bonus on your next deposit up to $2,000. Fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process. Check out my BetUS link in the description below. It's in the description of this episode. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days, live wagering on all major games, best bet variety in the business. Again, use promo code YouTube150 to receive a 150% bonus on your first deposit, as well as a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Reminder, gambling involves risks. Please only gamble with funds that you can afford to lose. All forms of betting carry financial risk. It is down to the individual to make bets with or without the assistance of information provided. Do you listen to the pregame pod today, or did you not get a chance?
I did indeed. Excellent job, as always.
I did say I liked the Chicago cover, and I thought it was going to be way more than a cover at a certain point when they were up by 22. And then I was hoping it was only a cover in the final minutes, but yeah, Chicago
was
the spread was -7. It opened at 8.5 and it went down to 7. And yeah, the Bulls not only covered, but won tonight. So
if Kobe White makes 2 of 3, what do you think happens in overtime?
So there's part of me that thought they were running out of gas.
Yep,
I think Tibbs wasn't making a sub. Now, here's the other part. I think Cat fouls out.
I think the Bulls win. By the way, another huge play in that game was Cat goes knee to knee with Levine. That's a block.
Yep.
They didn't call it because it was his 6th foul.
Yep, held the whistle. That's actually like competent refereeing, not fouling him out there.
Wild no call, and Levine turns it over there too. So it was actually a huge play.
Yeah.
How much time was left? I can't. It's like a minute something left there.
Like minute change, 2 and change maybe. But to your point, that's a ref knowing I'm not going to foul out a guy with 46 points.
Yeah, I think Cat had nothing left. I think he was probably banged up. at that point. Team's
Yeah.
still running on fumes, and Chicago's fast and young, and I think they probably win that game, but who knows? But that's how you could have covered the spread. You go to overtime, you blow them out.
I actually thought Cat, when he hit the stanchion, looked off because he missed the 2 free throws.
Yep.
And watching him come out of the timeout where they put him at the line and the one shot was the shot was on him, and he's like blinking his eyes like really fast at the free throw line. It's like, did this center of gravity get thrown off? And then he misses 2 free throws and then didn't hit any of his threes the next 2 possessions. And then the remaining shots he hit were all layups.
Yep. Yeah.
So, guy's a warrior. He is earning my respect on the toughness side of things. That's for sure.
Love that.
All right. Would you like to continue with our super chats, Benji?
Yeah, let's keep going, man. Let's do it. Love it. Hush Z, thank you for the generous contribution. Hush. We all know the issues this game, but heartbreak loss aside, I'm kind of content with this game. Look at this. I think it's because John's not here. First time this version of the Knicks showed real fight and didn't just roll over and die on us. Let's go Knicks. That's a little strong. But yes, obviously consistent with what I've been saying. I loved to see the fight. Reminiscent of this team's ethos the last couple of years. So, yes, heartbreak loss aside, it's game 11 of the season. It's not going to make or break us. The Eastern Conference stinks, thankfully. We're going to hang. All you got to go on is one big run in the next 25 games, and you'll be the 3rd seed. So I don't think anybody else is making any huge runs outside those first 2 teams. So you're fortunate in that sense to have the time you need to figure this out. But this is one piece of it, man, is like the toughness side, and it's good to see that this team has it in it. Thank you, Hush. Dom the Dentist. Dom just says, pain, period. Now, that might be a double entendre. Does he mean pain like that sucks they lost? Does he mean campaign spelled differently? Period, like that dude's the dude? I'm going to read it as both. I'm going to give you the credit of this pun and assume that you mean both, that campaign rocks and was awesome, and then the end of the game was pain. And I agree with both. Thanks, Dom. Will Oliver, pain, period. Oh, fascinating. Bunch of smart guys over here. But we'll learn from it. Great team effort. Andrew, is this real?
This is real. Back-to-back pain periods.
And like people just being like happy with the effort?
Yeah.
Is it because Macri's not here?
No. Maybe. I don't know. I know Johnny Bryant hasn't contributed anything to Macri yet. At least I don't think he has. So,
pain, yeah. I have nothing to add to that. Great team effort. It was well. Again, for less than a quarter and 3 minutes, it was a great team effort. Yes.
You know what it is, Benji, and this is my diagnosis of it. This was the first game that felt like last year.
Yes.
The first.
And that's why I opened the way I did, is because I was ready to say this team is lacking something, that they've lost the ethos. They've lost the foundation. And what was fascinating to me is that first stretch of the 3rd quarter where it got worse and worse and worse. Tibbs didn't call one timeout. Tibbs didn't make one sub.
Nope.
Until the first media timeout. And he always takes early timeouts when they come out like crap in the 3rd quarter. Like he's not like a Phil Jackson guy who like lets the team figure it out. That was so purposeful to me. And I thought I just thought it was the right button to push. It's like, this is not acceptable. This is not who we are. I stand for something different than this. And I wonder if that helps send a message a little bit to like a kick in the butt. Like, well, I'm not bailing you guys out. You're not going home. I'm going to play you. I'm not going to sit you for the night because it's a back-to-back. That's not what I'm about. I just love that. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Tibbs, I don't have much smoke for him tonight. It's just like a thing he consistently does. It's almost as if the guys that got me here, I will leave in no matter what. DJ mentioned this. I want to know if you agree. Why are both Brunson and Cat in the game on that possession at the end? Because if Sims and or Deuce are in, you switch everything, and then Josh isn't chasing a screen.
Sims, not Sims.
Not Sims.
Too jumpy. I'm not interested in that.
You think they get a
And
look at the rim?
and I'm a
if
big Sims
is in?
defender, but talk about a guy who might commit a foul on a 3-pointer. Like Sims is maybe suspect A. So that to me is not really it. Deuce for Brunson is the real question, but it's not. And he's done it in the past, but like it's a Brunson's my guy thing. Like I'm not.
That's almost to his detriment, though. Like it's the
Yeah.
guys that got me here. I'm going to, stick with them
I
rather
remember
than the better 5 to go with here in offense defense subs.
Right. Steph Curry's a better defender than Brunson, but this was always the thing with Steve Kerr is he did not always take out Curry, even though he had Sean Livingston on the bench, let's say. Right. And like, even though Steph's a better defender than Brunson, Sean Livingston was a better defender than Curry. But there's something about he's the captain and he's the leader and he'll be smart. I'm not going to get on him about it. And maybe if this is a playoff game, maybe he does that. And does make that sub, but I get it, and I'm not going to. I am choosing not to get upset about that. I have to watch the last play again to see if the reason Hart's chasing is because they couldn't switch something. I'm not sure that's true, but I haven't watched it back, so I'll leave that up to. Did DJ concluded that was the case?
That's what he was saying. Is that you switch everything and then Hart isn't chasing. I also noticed that
even if you switch everything, I'll look at it again.
The play was for Levine at the rim for a lob. Like Levine's even jumping for like, hey, throw it up. It might have even been Vooch. I just know Cat was the one on at the rim. So
Josh Giddey is like historically great inbounds passer, and they've hit that back door multiple times. Giddey's hit that back door multiple times on inbounds passes, so I know they were trying to do that.
By the way, speaking of the pregame pod, notice they didn't close with Giddey again. That was Giddey's first re-entry into the game.
It was terrible in the second half, Giddey.
Yeah.
Trying to see this if I can see what happened here.
Oh, so Benji's watching the play as we speak.
Yeah, so Hart. It looks like Kobe White came around Vucevic and Hart's chasing over the top. But like, even if you switch that, Cat would be theoretically chasing, or if that's Deuce, even Deuce is chasing. Like he's cutting towards the ball, so you might start. Even if you switch, you might start behind him. And it's not the wrong thing to do to chase to try to get him inside 3-point line when you're up 2. So I get it. And I'm not saying putting Deuce in. I don't think putting Sims in is right. If you have Precious, maybe I get that. I don't think you're putting Sims in. Too jumpy. Deuce for Brunson, I get it. I don't think it determined anything, but I get it.
Got it. All right.
All right. Hush is back. Hush says, Cat is unreal. We won this trade by far. I don't care. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, he sometimes it's too easy, man. It is crazy. Like Jalen Brunson, as amazing a scorer as he is, I don't think anybody's ever watched him and said, man, it is so easy for Jalen Brunson to score, to fill it up. Like Jalen Brunson works for his points, man. Jalen Brunson dribbles a lot. And he switches directions 6 times, and he runs around the jungle gym, 3 picks, 4 picks, and he finds a sliver of space, and then he scores. Cat, just like, it's like either you pass me the ball at the top of the key, and either I just sling it from and it goes in, or I pump fake and you jump, and it's 2 dribbles and a dunk. It's like so simple. It's gross how simple it is for him. That was an outrageous run, man. Made it worth it. The game made the game worth it to watch that. That was special. And to see the crowd really get behind him. I think we'll see many more Cat explosions on offense that ignite the team and ignite the crowd. So that was cool. Yep. Thanks, Hush. By the way, on the other side of that trade, they're starting to come for Julius Randle in Minnesota, man. I think it's probably unfair a little bit, but yeah, it's Julius stuff, man. Like Julius stuff. Hands are down, not getting back on defense. Like he is who he is. There's good things about him, bad things about him. More surprising to me is DiVincenzo struggling to the extent he's struggling. A lot of turnovers, and I think he's shooting under 40% from the field, which is not good. So yeah, so far we've run the trade, but both teams are in the figuring out stage. All right, Kevin D is back. Oh, sorry, I should have realized you were leading me there. Andrew. All right, so Kevin says not to take a poop on Jew, but distinctly remember bench comebacks where he would sulk. JB, loudest guy on bench. So proud he's my cat. Believe in him 100%. Damn, Kevin, you're in a positive mood. Yeah. I don't want to get too much on Julius, but yeah, I would say his body language was never the greatest. It's fair to say. And JB is, look, it's like JB came into Julius's team and became the leader of the team. That tells you all you have to know. Like he's just, he's a natural leader, Brunson. And I think Julius grew a lot as a leader and as a locker room guy over the course of his time here. And I think teammates like him. But he's not a natural leader. He's not. He's too in his own head at times, and the body language is just never great. So, but yeah, we should believe in Jalen Brunson 100%. Man, he was so clutch down the stretch in this game. I know he didn't have a great game, even though the numbers are okay. And like it hasn't been a clean. He's been good this season. It has not been a clean start to the season. Like so, uncharacteristic turnovers. His mid-range game hasn't been on point. It's coming, but it hasn't been on point. In the first half, he missed a lot of easy shots. But with all that, man, those two shots late, those two moves against a tough defender in Williams, and it really made three great shots. And just the third one chose to spin out. Yeah, we all believe in Jalen Brunson 100%. Thanks, Kev. Joe Vogel. Should they have switched there with 4 seconds left? Cat has shown some ability to do it. Should they just be switching more in general? All right, so on the last play, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with how they covered that. I think Josh Hart just needs to be more disciplined in his closeout. You force him into the arc, you try to get back in front of him, and you force a tough 2. That's the goal. So the fact that Josh Hart, and by the way, if Josh Hart doesn't foul him there, that's a very tough 3-pointer, and you even live with that. Like if Josh is just a little more disciplined in that closeout, I don't have any fundamental issue with how they covered the play. Again, I haven't watched it on a big screen in front of me back, so I'm at a bit of a disadvantage here. But just looking at it on my phone right now, I don't have any real issue. Now, should they switch more in general? Yes, my opinion is yes, they should switch more in general. I would like to see them empower Cat a bit on that end, especially against certain matchups. I'm not sure Levine's the right matchup because he's so quick. And explosive to the rim, and his step back game is so good. That's kind of a switch killer. But on a Halliburton, who yes will make a step back 3, but isn't the quickest of foot. I think the way to limit that offense is to switch more, and the Knicks are just not willing to do it, which is why I think Indiana scores so well against them. I would really like to see them empower Cat to switch more in that matchup, and in others, but game-by-game basis. I do think that it's something they should lean into a bit more, though, Joe. Yes. Thank you for the contribution. Sam Garcia's dad. I'm just going to give Campaign props. He was instrumental to the comeback. His 3 to start the third was huge. Yeah, man. I mean, Campaign was really good in the playoffs last year against the Knicks. This shouldn't be shocking. He's not scared at all. He's used to this role of limited playing time, but I'm going to come in and make my impact. Hadn't shot it well early this year, but he found it tonight. And I think he'll be just fine as a bench player on this team. I've also said that I really love Tyler Kolek's offensive game. And so I wonder if at some point he takes over that role, but clearly Tibbs doesn't trust him yet defensively, and rightfully so for the most part. I think Kolek has shown some issues. I wish Tibbs would let him play through them a bit more when Kolek does get the chance. He hasn't done that, which is, a Tibbsy thing to do, to not trust a rookie and then to pull him quick. No pun intended. But, yeah. We should give Campaign props. I think we're going to like a lot of what he does this year. I think he's a just fine guard off the bench. So good for you, Campaign. Good to see you make some shots. Thanks, Sam Garcia's dad. Sheffy Jr., thanks for the generous contribution, my man. I don't believe in moral victories. All losses count the same in the end. But I was happy to see this team have some fight. in them that I thought they lost after the trade. Also, shout out campaign. All right, good. So the sentiment's pretty consistent and consistent with how I opened the show, and I'm thrilled about that. That means, I think the fan base is really smart, and I think generally, if we're in line with the fan base and not just like some nutsos on Twitter, but like the core of the fan base, I think we're probably in a good spot. So it's good to see that I'm with you guys. No, you don't have to believe in moral victories. And ultimately, the reason they lost the game is because they sucked for 2.5 quarters and their defense isn't any good. So, again, I'm not living in fantasy land here. Like, the fact that I am proud of the way this team fought back and almost won this game and could have won this game does not negate the fact that they have a ton of work to do on the defensive end of the floor. And they chose not to show any energy for most of this game. That's not okay. I'm not okay with that. But to your point, Sheffy, I think it quieted a lot of the noise about how the spirit of the team has changed. That's key to me. And the shout out to campaign, he was part of that. His energy was essential and the shot making was huge. So yes, no moral victories. This team is past that, by the way. Like, again, you go all in, there's certainly no moral victories. They're paying too much money to this roster, and they're too out of picks to have moral victories against the Chicago Bulls, no less. No. You got to win the game. The lesson learned is don't take the first 3 quarters for granted. But good to know they have that fourth quarter in them. That's also true and important. Thanks, Chevy. Excuse me. Anthony Sixto, thank you, my man, for another generous contribution. You guys are the best. I appreciate you being here with me. I love filling in for John when I can. I love doing these post games. It's a lot of fun to get to interact with you all directly in this way, so it's cool. Anthony says, Mikal looked more comfy with JBOG on bench. More on ball, control of flow. Simplified, focused the offense for him, less trying to fit in. Curious what more can be done to get more overlap second unit. Anthony, that is a great observation. And it's actually one that I had last night, because against the Sixers, he had a stretch there when JB goes out with the ankle. And you think the game's going to get away, and he goes to work, mostly in that mid-range post area, and with some key buckets. And there's no question in my mind that he feels empowered when JB, I don't know about OG, but I definitely think without JB on the floor, he's deferring less, he's more aggressive, and I think that helps him because right now, and I think there's a specific reason for this, his value as an off-ball player is largely dependent on his jump shot from 3. And if, like me, you believe he doesn't quite have full confidence in that jump shot from 3, it makes a lot of sense that he doesn't look particularly comfortable with Jalen Brunson on the floor. He doesn't think he can provide the value he's supposed to provide. Now, he does a good job cutting. He attacks closeouts really nicely. He does this cool thing. I want you guys to focus on this because it's a subtle thing. Watch how Mikal Bridges tosses the ball in front of him on his dribble when he attacks closeouts. He doesn't dribble. He tosses it to create separation. Subtle thing, but keep an eye out on it. That's something I'm gonna clip at some point. But it's a very cool little thing that he does to create more separation when he attacks those closeouts. So he does some good stuff. He's a really good cutter, and the mid-range game has been great. But there's no question that he's not fully comfortable right now just spacing to 3, and therefore, I think, looks more like himself when JB's not on the floor. So that's good to see. I don't know if anything more can be done short of like making him the 6th man. Like, he is getting these minutes because theoretically, and this was a conversation we had before the season, we knew Cat and Brunson were going to stagger. So one of them is on the floor at all times, which I think is great. I think Tibbs has actually done a great job of staggering their minutes. What we didn't know is who was going to play with Cat. We knew it would be one of the wings. Would it be Bridges or OG? And there's an argument that he should always play with OG to kind of insulate the defense, right? But Tibbs has now gone the other way. He's always playing with Bridges. And to me, it's been helpful for Bridges' offense to have that time to run pick and rolls with Cat and to do all that. So I don't know if there's more that we can do. Unless he's going to be the 6th man and you're going to put Deuce in the starting lineup, which is not going to happen. I would say it's not going to happen this year. I think they're going to give it a full year plus playoffs before they make any drastic changes to a guy they traded the amount they traded for Mikal Bridges. So I think the rotations are right, and I think you're giving him some time here to play with that second unit with Cat as the screener, and it's shown. I think it's had pretty good results. Ultimately, man, he's got to make threes, and I know he made one tonight. He's got to make threes. He's got to provide that value, that space for Brunson. He's got to be a great corner three-point shooter, which he's always been. Like, that needs to come back. We're all kind of avoiding it right now, and we're just kind of hoping that it comes back. But if we're 30 games into the season and he's shooting 28% from three, it's going to be a big problem. It's going to be a big problem. I don't want to understate that. Like, as I'm trying to be patient with him, rightfully so. It's a new situation. Obviously, he's working out some kinks in that shot. The track record still speaks for itself. So I'm not panicking yet, but I am monitoring closely. And I just want to be honest, even while I'm not panicking, I want to be honest that the potential for panic is there. If he is not a great if he's not a very good three-point shooter, if he's a hesitant and or inefficient three-point shooter, that is disastrous for this organization. I don't want to sugarcoat it. It is disastrous. And that's before we get to the defense. So, like, Mikal Bridges right now has a long way to go. Thought he made some good plays tonight. Showed some progress. Patience is a virtue. I'm not making any sweeping conclusions before 20 games. But those are the conclusions that we will get to if it continues on this path, and that is a frightening thought. That is a frightening thought. Wow, that's the most negative I got here. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate the contribution. Johnny Bryant. Johnny, just enjoy your undefeated season. Johnny says, Leon has me on speed dial if we lose to the Nets. I'll bet. Man, they better not lose to the Nets. By the way,
they play him twice. By the way,
they play him right. They play him what, Friday and Saturday,
and Sunday.
Friday and Sunday. Look, man, if Mikal Bridges is two stinkers against his old team away from the noise getting very, very loud.
Yes,
very loud. And it doesn't even have to be like he shoots 0 for 13 from the field. If he doesn't make threes, if the shot looks as bad as it's looked, even if he does decent things elsewhere, but like even if that happens, like he goes, let's say over those 2 games, he shoots 1 for 12 from 3 or something, like it's going to get really loud and uncomfortable. And you got 2 games in New York. Brooklyn's paying close attention. We know from their Twitter accounts, they're paying very, very close attention to Mikal Bridges' failures. If he's guarding Cam Thomas and Thomas goes off for 38 and wins the game, they need to win those games. It's not a tragedy if they lose one, but they should win both. They can't lose both. But even if they win one or even win both and Bridges is not good, you don't want that. Like it's players maybe act like it doesn't matter, but it matters. Like when the noise gets loud. And for him, it's like that jump shot thing is weird. So I don't want it to get more in the limelight than it already is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a 4 for 6 night would go a long way Friday night. Let's put it that way. Let's keep it in the positive frame. But I'm worried. I am worried about him. I'll tell you that much.
So we need one of 2 things to happen, is what you're saying. We either need Mikal Bridges to, like you said, have like a 6 for 10 weekend, or like an 8 for 12 weekend from 3. Or you said the noise is going to get louder over on Nets Twitter. We just need the whole NBA to migrate over to Blue Sky with the rest of us. So including you, Benji.
Did you see my tweet at one point? I said this game might send me to Blue Sky.
I actually didn't see it. Why? Because I spent the night posting up. We haven't figured out what the terminology is. Posting on Blue Sky.
It's a stupid name.
Flying on Blue Sky.
It's a stupid name.
Skating on Blue Sky.
That's honestly maybe why I'm resistant to it. It's a stupid name, but let me ask you this. Is there a conversation, like there's reaction and conversation and people are engaged over there?
Yeah. John and I had back-to-back We Are So Back flights, whatever they're called over there, posts. Yeah. I'm
not convinced.
Look, all of this is meaningless. It's all the same thing. What I need is a app that lets just I type something in and hit post and it goes to all of them. So I don't have to keep opening an app and closing it. And I can just, for now, here's my post on all of them. Same thing for the Knicks Film School.
When Elon buys Blue Sky, maybe
just throw my phone out the window is what I'm going to do. Benjy. Thank you everybody for tuning in, by the way.
Is that it? Johnny Bryant was the last one?
No, we've got a couple more super chats. We have one more segment. The Out of Town Scoreboard presented by T Squared Social. Our good friends over at T Squared Social. If you would like to get a free draft beer, head on over to T Squared Social and tell them that Knicks Film School sent you. Visit www.tsquaredsocial.com to learn about club memberships, trivia nights, sports leagues, and much more. If a driving range that has multiple options besides just driving range, they have basketball in the driving range, soccer in the driving range. They're little simulators that they do. Plenty of fun stuff. Darts, duck pin bowling, trivia night, Papa Shot. Plenty of fun stuff at T Squared Social. Would like to go through the Out of Town Scoreboard, Benjy?
I would love to. Can I just say that the one watch party I was able to attend this year, which was that amazingly enthralling Boston game, which, by the way, if you recall, I did say to you and John, I'm pretty sure they're going to get blown out tonight.
You call it. Yes,
I totally called that one. So when they were down like 64, between timeouts, I just started going over to the simulators and hitting some golf balls. And nobody was watching. I promise this happened, though. I walked up to the simulator. It was on, I don't know, you're not a golf person. It was on TPC Sawgrass 17, which is a very famous par 3 golf hole surrounded by water, little par 3. And I took out a little gap wedge. It was like 120 yards. First swing, I put it an inch from the hole.
Hey!
And I turned around and I was like, who's watching? And nobody was watching. That was the most exciting part of that game. Anyway,
that's for sure.
That simulator was awesome. T Squared Social is an awesome joint. We have a bunch of watch parties. People should come hang out. It's a great time.
The next one, I believe you can attend. It's a Saturday night against the Pelicans in December.
Ooh, what time?
8 o'clock. But meaning to ask you, can you attend the Saturday night?
Absolutely, man.
Pelicans watch party.
These days, Sabbath is over like 5:30.
That's why I was like, oh, great. Benjy could come to this one.
Oh, that sounds great. Maybe I'll bring Shira, man. I'll bring the wife.
There you go. We'll make it a family affair. Why not? We did want you to do a post-game show with us too, but it would only be like 40 minutes and like from there. So
that sounds like an absolute blast, and I can't wait.
Awesome. So some out-of-town scores.
Let's hear it. Let's hear the out-of-town scores.
Speaking of the Nets, they lost at home tonight to the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum had 36 in a win.
Good player.
I'm going to give you the final scores first. Hold on. The Magic, who are now the 3 seed and the 3rd team in the Eastern Conference above 500. They defeated the Pacers 94-90. Franz with 29.
How about holding the Pacers to 90 points?
Look at that. That's that defense.
That team can guard. And Halliburton, by the way, it's crazy. He's getting 9 points on 3 of 14 from the field.
Yep. Yeah.
By the way, that's Jalen Suggs, I imagine, with the primary assignment.
Indeed.
Who himself shot 2 of 15 from the field. But Franz has been great without Banchero, and they're tough as nails, that Orlando team. And like they're not particularly talented without Paolo, but man, they're gonna fight you tooth and nail. They're gonna fight you. They're not a pleasant team to play. And if there's gonna be a threat to the Knicks for that 3 seed, maybe it's them.
Maybe, especially if they get Paolo back and they've righted the ship. They're treaded water, I guess.
They're legit, and they're gonna have a top defense. They're legit.
Yeah. We've spoken about it. The Cavaliers tonight went to 13-0. They're now 7-0 on the road. Of course, they're undefeated.
What's the record for starting a season?
Isn't it the Warriors? Didn't they set the record that one year, 23-0? I'll look it up. I'll look it up and get back to you.
That sounds right, though.
Jared McCain in the emergency start, though. We saw him last night. 34 points, 10 assists on a night where both Paul George and Joel Embiid sat on the second night of a back-to-back.
That kid can shoot, man. And
He can play.
He can play. He can really play. He's a great pick for them. He's obviously a great fit. Like, to think you could just stick an elite shooter around Embiid and Maxey and George. Certainly has ways to go defensively. Made some terrible plays against the Knicks, so he's still a rookie, but a find for the Sixers.
Yeah. The Thunder beat the Pelicans in their another game of the stretch 5 Lou Dort lineup, the all guard lineup that they're running out right now with no centers.
Yeah, they have no centers. The Pelicans have no players, so
that's also true. Very true. The Rockets improved to 8-4 on the season, beating James Harden and the Los Angeles Clippers tonight, 111-103.
Oh, Norm Powell finally came back to earth. 13 points on 18 shots. He's not Kobe Bryant, as it turns out.
Apparently not. And then 2 big high-scoring games. The Bucks defeated the Pistons in overtime, 127-120. Cade Cunningham with 35, 7, and 11 in the loss, and only to be outdone by Giannis Antetokounmpo, 59 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists in the win.
Holy mother of Lord.
Yes, mother of Lord, indeed. And
16.
then
Andrew,
what?
He was 16 of 17 from the line.
From the line, yeah.
Shout out Game 6 of the finals.
Was he 16 and 17 or 17 and 18?
Something like that. I mean,
yeah, but that's what got him there. Yeah.
What the heck?
Not as bad as the 60-plus game he had last year against the Pacers, where it was like 25 of 28 from the line. Yeah.
That's an impressive performance. And now he's just dragging them right now because they stink. And he's dragging them to whatever they can get. And you just wonder, man. You just wonder what they're going to do, what he's going to want to do. They're now 4-8, but they've won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Okay.
Their schedule up until New Year's is quote unquote light. It's a lot of Eastern Conference teams. If they can get over 500 by then, they will have somewhat righted the ship. But I've still have my concerns about.
And by the way, the Pistons are I know the Knicks took care of them, but they're different this year. There's
think about that.
Significant improvement there.
The Bucks needed 59 from Giannis in overtime to beat the now.
Well, Dame didn't play also, right?
No, yeah, but the rest of that team,
Mm-hmm.
Malik Beasley had a big night in his return to Milwaukee.
Oh, revenge game, Malik Beasley.
Yeah.
Okay.
And last but not least, Victor Wembanyama, a win against the Wizards tonight in San Antonio, had 50 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks.
I'm sorry, what now?
Yes, Wemby had 50 points tonight, 8 threes as well. And then Jordan Poole in the loss had 42 points. I want to see how many field goal attempts Jordan Poole had to get here.
I think that was
only 22. Really good, efficient night for Jordan.
That was
Poole.
a shut up Bill Simmons 50 points with 8 threes from Wembanyama. A lot of criticism of his 3-point shooting.
Yeah. I missed I heard the Embiid stuff today.
In the media, Kevin O'Connor had a tweet like they've been ripping on him that he's shooting too many threes and outside shots. Well, there you go.
There you go.
But you're missing one very fascinating score.
One fascinating score. I haven't done any of the live scores right now. Oh, Minnesota tied with Portland. Their second time playing Portland in a couple
I have them down 3. Maybe I'm behind you.
Okay. I have it 58-58 on my end.
No, 61-58 Portland. Randall's got 9 points on 7 shots. And DiVincenzo is 1 for 6 and 0 for 5 from 3.
So for those who don't know, they lost to Portland yesterday in Portland, 122. This is a weird schedule, 122-108. And they're in danger of losing back-to-back games to Portland.
Holy cow. That will get interesting. That will get interesting if they lose twice to Portland.
A Portland team that has 4 wins, by the way, 4-8 so far this year.
Both teams are searching, man. Both teams are searching a bit. Wow.
Yeah.
That's shocking. And DiVincenzo can't make a shot. It's crazy.
The Devo thing is what is obviously most shocking to all of us. The Randall thing, he seems as advertised. People are getting frustrated with his...
He is who he is.
Yeah, who he is. And the Devo being, not being a sharpshooter anymore is what's a little scary.
Being like Sacramento Devo.
Which is why it's a little scary that Mikal is... If he was shooting better... I think we'd all just be like, oh, this was a fine swap, He's our floor spacer instead. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Wow, that's a game to watch down the stretch. All right. Well, that's our out of town scoreboard. Thank you, Andrew. That was enlightening stuff. The league isn't, I know they get a lot of complaints. The rating stuff is stupid because the industry is changing so much. So I don't know how you measure ratings anymore anyway. But I think the league is fascinating. A lot of interesting games every night. Drama tonight. The Knicks game was amazing. Last night's NBA Cup slate was awesome. Every game. The Clay thing was amazing. The drama's still there. I don't know. People like to complain. We got Wemby going for 50. Got Giannis going for 59. I don't know. A lot of good games. A lot of good players out there.
You know what? It's because we're NBA junkies. We're addicts. Like, this is our thing. So for us, we love basketball. But the casual, this isn't the game that they casually like to watch. I experienced it as a movie fan. Like, there's no good movies out anymore. Well, I know of the A24 movies that 17 people saw that are really great, but
hey man, Wicked's coming.
Yes, that movie is coming out.
I'm a big Wicked head.
Are you really?
Not really.
No? Okay. I was hoping for more Gladiator 2 out of you, but
I'm excited for that too.
Yes.
I'm excited for that too.
Yes. Clint Eastwood has a new movie coming out.
I haven't seen a movie since like last November probably, but yeah. I hear what you're saying. I think the casual fan, there's plenty to be excited about. I just think the industry is changing. I think people are still excited about the NBA, but where they're excited about the NBA is changing. So the NBA needs to figure out how to monetize that, but that's a whole different conversation we do not have to get into.
Yeah. I got to get you into movies. Officially decided that. That's like the last Infinity Stone.
Andrew.
That's the last Infinity Stone you need.
I love you, but I don't have time. I just don't have time.
I was strictly going for the Infinity Stone joke to bother you.
Oh God, you and your Infinity Stone.
Speaking of movies, yes. All right, let's wrap up.
All right, what do we got? Hush. I'm itching to see Precious next to Towns now. I like it. Look, I think that lineup is good. I will enjoy watching that lineup. I think defensively, you give Towns a better chance. Precious can play the 5 better than even OG can and can switch and you do all sorts of things. Here's what I will tell you. Just understand that if Precious is on the floor with Karl Anthony Towns will be guarded by 0 centers. Like, that's out. To whatever extent teams are hesitant to put their centers on Josh Hart, they will not be hesitant to put them on Precious Achiuwa. So you lose that advantage. And to me, again, that's the whole point of this experiment. Now, in certain matchups, for certain portions of games, you can still get away with it. There's enough talent on the floor. You could do good things. I'm just saying, I like that lineup. I do not want to rely on it for large portions of games. I think Cat at the 5 has to be the answer. It has to be the answer here. You just got to find a way to build a defense. Thank you, Hush. John Leary. How we doing, John? Team is too talented to be 5 and 6. Shaking my head. LOL. Love your breakdowns, Benjy. Thank you, John. I appreciate the compliment. And yeah, look, 5 and 6 is stupid. Yeah, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I wonder what let's see what their net rating is now. Andrew, look, I can't right now. Andrew, tell me what the net rating is now for the Knicks, because I think that's more predictive probably of what's coming.
You got it. I'll put up the next super chat and I'll tell you.
Thank you, friend. Yeah, but 5 and 6, not good enough. Agreed. Walt Clyde Fraser. Ooh, but he spelled Fraser with Phraser because he has phrases. Very good. Very good. Rough loss, but the comeback tells me this team still has some 23-24 grit. Let's go! And many first half mistakes were corrected. P.S. Does Cat ever beat Melo's 62? Ooh, I love that question. Okay. As we've been saying all night, the first sentence is correct. Rough loss was a rough loss. Comeback tells me this team has 23-24 grit. Yes, that's the key. That's the takeaway tonight. Nothing else changed for me. The defense stinks. The offense is great. But I now know they have the grit and the toughness to come back in a game like that, and that's important. Does Cat ever break Melo 62? I think the answer is yes. I just think the answer is yes. He's had 60 twice, I think, already. Not as a Knick, but as a Timberwolf. He's already had now 40 plus twice with the Knicks. He's so crazy explosive. He shoots more threes than Melo, or Melo depends. Sometimes Melo would shoot a lot of threes, but the game was a little different back then. Like I think so. I think with threes and getting to the free throw line, I think he breaks 62 at some point in the next probably year. That's my prediction. Great question. Thanks, Walt. Dom Cappuccini, the legend. How we doing, Tom? Dom, sorry. Precious at the 4. What say you, Benji? We just discussed it. Dom, I again, you say Precious at the 4, but he's going to play the 5 on defense, and he's going to be guarded by 5s on offense. So Precious at the 4 really means Cat at the 4. And Cat at the 4 means you're neutering his offensive explosiveness. And I don't want to do that. So, yes, for stretches of games, absolutely. Especially with how thin this team is at the wing. Precious is going to be one of your best substitutes. I'm fine playing with the Cat for segments of the game. I'm excited to see it because I think defensively it might be really exciting. And Precious is a capable offensive player to the point where like the offense still may be very good. I just don't want it to be their starting lineup and play for like most of the game. I'm not interested. Tom continues, no shade for Hart, although it does help the bench. I think Josh Hart's been awesome this year, and I don't want to send him to the bench yet. By the way, if there's a wing that deserves to go to the bench, his name is not Josh Hart. That's a different discussion. More so to my concern on Cat's interior presence. Yes, yeah, they have to figure out the defense. I'm with you, Dom. I am with you. I just think, and he says you still keep Cat at the 5. Maybe in name you keep him at the 5. You can call him the 5 because he's taller than Precious. But at the end of the day, the point of it is going to get to be the point of doing this is to get Cat out of your pick and roll actions on defense, which means Precious is playing the 5 on defense. And on offense, any decently intelligent team is going to put their center on Precious and put their best defensive wing on Cat or their power forward. So you can say Cat's at the 5, but if you play Precious with Cat, functionally, Cat's at the 4. And again, Cat was a successful 4 for Minnesota for 2 years. He can do it. Don't think that's the ceiling for this team. Thank you, Dom.
By the way, the Knicks net rating is 4.2, by the way. Plus 4.2. They are tied with the Orlando Magic for 7th in the NBA.
Wow. So that's what I mean. Sorry. I just got to charge my computer here. That's what I mean, that 5 and 6 is frustrating. Obviously could have won this game to be 6 and 5. That net rating is despite a crazy blowout in the first game also. So predictively, I would say the net rating tells you it's a good team that will at some point move some games over 500. And I believe that to be true. That doesn't mean they're a contender yet. They have a long way to go to build out the defense. I don't think they are a contender until they figure out the defensive side. But it is a good basketball team that's going to start winning some games, assuming health.
To your point, if you filter out the Celtics game, it's plus 6.9, which is 6th in the NBA, right behind the Cavaliers, actually.
There you go. It's a good basketball team. They got to finish some games and figure out the D. Okay. Hush Z. I don't know. Mikal's perimeter defense is breaking my heart. Yeah, it is. It's a concern. It's a concern. Again, that's my, as a team, they need to figure out the defensive side and how they want to play. A big part of that is Mikal Bridges becoming an elite defender that they expected when they traded a whole lot for him. And right now, you have question marks on both sides of the ball for him, which is terrifying. I said on Sunday on the pod with John, like right now, because I understand he's figuring out the jump shot, and I'm gonna trust his work ethic that he's gonna figure it out. I want him to focus on the defensive side and just like be the disruptive defender we know he can be on the ball, and like the offense will come. We have enough on offense even without him, like to be a good offense right now. I just wanted to really focus on the defensive side. I did not think that he took a huge step tonight in that department. Again, I thought Levine got to his spots generally on him. Some possessions where I didn't even think he had much resistance to the drives. So yeah, breaking my heart too. He's got to find it. Dom is back with an extremely generous contribution. Thank you, Dom. Also, Precious at the 4 when Mitch returns, and let's say he doesn't get traded. It allows for both to probably earn 20 minutes, one as a starter and the other off the bench. I don't know, probably just wasting brain space. My Hill. No, it's not wasting brain space. It's not wasting brain space. And I think they will play some time with Cat. Cat will play with Precious, and if Mitch is still here, he'll play with Mitch for certain minutes. It's not crazy. Like, he proved he can do it with Gobert. I'm repeating myself, but I got to see 20 games of this and to see if they can start finding some defensive solutions. That's all. That's all. Dom's back again. Dom, you're the best. Roster changes or none. Either way, we will forget this come March and certainly in May. November heartbreakers are no stranger to, and we have overcome them before. Onwards and upwards. Amen to that. Yeah. This one hurt. This was like uniquely heartbreaking because of the foul and the way the shot didn't go in, which I could have sworn was going in. And I was like so excited to jump on here and start yelling and screaming about everything. It's funny how literally a quarter of an inch can change your whole outlook on something. But yeah, if this team goes on a run, this game is not going to haunt them, I don't think. But again, important lesson learned in terms of the approach of this team coming out on a second night of, they'll have several back-to-backs over the course of the year. And when that second game comes, you got to really find something inside to come out with energy, to match a team that plays with the kind of pace the Bulls play, especially. Like you gotta find something. And they didn't have it tonight early. So Tom, relax. Tom's back again. One more parting thought is that NY's net rating is what is mostly keeping me optimistic. There you go. Me too. That and the fight they showed tonight and last night. A lot of work to do, but the magic is still there. Love it, Dom. Love the positivity. Yes, I think it's a good basketball team. And I think the question is, can they become an elite basketball team? And that question is mostly dependent on finding some defensive solutions and for defensive guys to play better, like Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns at times, who I think has more potential than he's showing. And Jalen Brunson, who has made some terrible errors on defense as well. Those guys can do more. And then schematically, how do you eke out enough stops, man? Because the offense is what it is. It's exciting to watch. Dom, thank you for all the generous contributions. You're the best. Sam Garcia, how do we make the defense at least adequate? Yeah, it's a complicated question. My first thing is I think you got to switch more. I think right now they're conceding too many easy advantages. So like whether it's the drop where Cat's not enough resistance to not help into the paint, which now opens up your three-pointers. And then when you blitz, which they did on Levine a few times, I mean, it was very, very easy for the Bulls. Like there was one play, Breen even said after the play, like, man, this is easy. Levine got trapped up top. He dropped it to Giddey at the foul line, basically in the pocket, and Giddey just like uncontested floater from 6 feet. Blitzing consistently is not the answer either. I think you got to do a little bit of everything, but I think you have to try to switch more and see if you can string together some stops. I think that's key. Then it's Mikal finding himself defensively. So that's a way to make the defense adequate, is for your one of two supposed elite defenders. I would say Josh Hart's a very good defender, but Bridges and OG are supposed to be your two anchor wings, elite defenders. They have to play like it. OG has upheld his end of the bargain, that's for sure. Mikal is not. He has to be great to make up for some of the Cat and Brunson stuff. He has to be great. And he hasn't been. So some combination of more schematic versatility, more switching, and Mikal living up to the bill. And then I would say it's never going to happen, but I love seeing him play some zone. But that's besides the point. Never going to happen, so it's just a dream of mine. Just to mix it in, like most great coaches do. But yeah, your better chance of seeing Mitchell Robinson shoot a 3 this year. Okay, thanks, Sam. Russ Guberman, how we doing, Russ? Hey, Benji, enjoy your KFS analysis. Thank you. While the spreadsheet jockey's dream is slow, unathletic, and lacks heart. Oh, well, there we go. We were waiting for some negativity, and we found it. Worse than last year's January team. We'll be lucky to win 45 games. Okay. Wow. Let's take it step by step. Is slow, unathletic, and lacks heart. I don't think they're slow and unathletic. They're not the most athletic team in the world, but I think their wings are athletic. I don't know if I'd call them slow and unathletic. They play at a slow pace, but I don't think they're slow and unathletic. And I don't think they lack heart. I think they proved to you tonight they don't lack heart. I think they have the heart. They just lack the defensive personnel right now, and to some extent don't really know what they're doing yet schematically. Worse than last year's January team. I can't prove it one way or the other, whether they're worse or better than last year's January team. Last year's January team had a better record than this team has so far. So, point for you. I think that team obviously had more chemistry. I think OG is such an easy fit. Right? He was the big change. They added OG and they lost RJ and IQ. OG is like, you put him on any team in the league right now, he'd know exactly what he needs to do to help you win. He's a plug and play, the definition of a plug and play. Karl-Anthony Towns is not plug and play. That is a wholesale change to your style. You have to adjust your game. Every player on the floor has to adjust his game. Jalen Brunson. So, I think it's fair to give this iteration of the team a bit more grace and time than the January team needed to really ramp up. But you might be right. You might be right. The jury's out. The jury's out. And again, it's dependent on whether this team can build a defense. I think the offense has a higher ceiling than that January team had. I don't think it's particularly close. But the defensive side of the ball is the question. That team could be defensively dominant with OG and Hartenstein out there together. Those were two elite defenders, probably top 10 defenders in the league last year. Both of them in their lineup night after night. And we lost that center, that anchor. That's a big deal. So I am not convinced yet it's better than that January team. I think the ceiling's probably higher, but I'm not confident. I'm excited with reservations. And then we'll be lucky to win 45 games. I don't think they'll be lucky to win 45 games. I think they'll win more than 45 games. But that means 45 games would mean that for the rest of the way, they're one game under 500. 45 games is 3 games would be. Andrew, help me with the math. It's late. What would they have to go to win 45 games?
They would have to go 40. And they have 6 losses right now. 45 games is 37 losses. So they have to go 40 and 31 the rest of the year.
Okay. That's a good record. I don't think they'll be lucky to win 45 games, but is it impossible that they'll win 45 games? Might happen. I still think they're going to win more than that. 50 is getting harder and harder to achieve as they lose these games. The record you'd have to get to 50 wins now, that's quite a record. Not impossible, but less likely after every loss. I wouldn't say they'll be lucky to win 45 games, but it's not out of the question either. So yeah, fair enough, Russ. Thank you. Guber then. How are we doing, Guber? For a team with wing stoppers, we haven't, not once this season, been able to get stops in the final minutes of a game. I guess that's right. I'm trying to remember the Cleveland game, how that kind of ended. Was it with us not getting stops? Honestly, the games all run together. I don't remember exactly how the fourth quarter went down. I don't know if it's just like the final minutes of the game. I don't think this team can get consistent stops, period. So Yeah, you have wing stoppers, one of whom isn't playing like one, and you have your point guard and your center are below average defenders, and it's hard. Those wings need to be exceptional, and as I said, only one of them has been, and the other has been below average. So yeah, that's gonna take some work. It's gonna take some work. So until they can get stops, they're not an elite team. Thanks, Goober. Busy's back. He started us off and he's back. I've been overly positive this year because Julius isn't here. And the fan base gets to see what it's like to have a real all-star, all-NBA big. Jeez, man. Man, we've talked enough about Julius tonight. Look, Julius did a lot of great things for the franchise, and I'm grateful to him. I am. I'm grateful to him for that. As Minnesota climbs up, the Blazers just tied it in the fourth. They cannot lose this game, man. The Wolves cannot lose this game. But yeah, what Cat can do on offense is obviously different. It's a different level than what Julius could do. It is. But Cat's defense at the 5 is also more damaging than Julius's at the 4.
By the way, Busy, take this victory lap against Julius if you'd like. I also remember the Mikal Bridges against Julius conversations you used to have with Sean. So you have to wear that as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Receipts. Never pleasant. Never pleasant. Bernard Richardson is back. Wax about OG Anunoby for the people, please. It's funny. Tonight's not really the night. I didn't think it was particularly great tonight. But he is the OG. I'm trying to think before I say this if I'm being honest about it. I think OG is the best gap filler in the NBA. And I mean that literally and figuratively. He fills space and creates space without doing anything really. Like it's just his presence, both as a spacer and a driver, and then as a defender, he's like he's a presence like Darrell Revis almost. Like he shuts down the side of the floor. He can guard 3 guys in the same possession. We saw it last night against the Sixers where he helped, rotated twice, and blocked the 3-pointer. Like he does things that I don't think any other human on the planet can do defensively at his position. So he's special, man. He's having a career year so far, and I think he's taken a leap offensively. His confidence shooting above the break, I don't even make him tonight, but generally has been sky high. He's low maintenance. He's just he's a monster, man. He's a monster. He ran into Anne Hathaway today. Who knows if that wasn't purposeful? Guy's a legend. I love OG. I love watching him play. Thanks, Bernard. Kevin Nanashevsky, on to Brooklyn. I would start OG on Cam, Hart on Schroeder, and have Mikal rove. Don't want Cam revenge game and trust OG. Want Mikal to affect D with length. Yeah, talked about this with John a little bit. If maybe the idea is moving him off the ball, but the reason they got him was because of his defense on the ball. Like he just needs to get there. So I think he will guard Schroeder. I think. Unless because Cam Johnson's, whereas like in this game, you were fine having OG roam off Patrick Williams. I know he made a couple threes, but you're generally okay with that. You're not going to have him roam off Cam Johnson, who's a great shooter. So if I had to guess, I would say it would be OG on Cam, Mikal on Schroeder, and a Hart on Cam Johnson. That would be my guess. Although, sorry, Brunson might be on Cam Johnson. Who's their fourth on Cam Johnson? Who am I missing in their starting lineup? By the way, Portland's up 5 on Minnesota. Holy cow. Let's see. Look at their starting lineup tonight. Oh, Zari Williams started. So you could actually put OG there and have him roam, maybe. That's possible. And then have Brunson on Johnson. Or put Brunson on Williams. So you could probably go either way. They're not easy, Brooklyn. Like that's gonna probably be a fight too. They're gonna be motivated. So get ready for that. I don't think they're gonna blow them out. And Mikal better play. Thanks, Kevin. Busy. How was I supposed to know he was going to change his shot mid-career? Man.
You got to know these things, Busy. When you're in the art of arguing and takeoffs, you have to know that these things are going to happen in the future.
Had the Knicks known about this, would they have done the deal?
No. I know, like, in Jeremy's world, the asset was too valuable to get as far as him on that contract. But if there was any world where he was going to change his shot mid-career, no, there would not be.
Man, what a wild story that is. All right, I'm not panicking
Indeed.
about it yet, though. I'm just monitoring it very closely, increasingly closely.
11 games and 2 bad games against Brooklyn will cause the panic.
I'm telling you, that'll be a panic. If it's 2 terrible 3-point shooting games against Brooklyn, the panic starts. Yep.
Indeed.
Yep.
6 more, half of them from Robert Cross.
Oh, goodness. Robert, where you been? Yoni Golan. How you doing, my brother Yoni? We are heading to a bad season. Oh, we waited for the negativity till midnight. Love Tibbs and what he's done for us, but he can't coach this team. Only knows how to coach one way, rim protecting 5. The minutes thing is unacceptable. Miss last year's team. I don't think we're headed to a bad season. I think we might be. I think the potential of a disappointing season is there. Maybe even more likely than like fulfilling all our dreams. I think this team is still super capable of getting to the conference finals. Right now, they could not beat Boston in a series. I am not willing to say they can't get to a place where they could compete with Boston in a series. Right now, they are not at a level defensively where they could compete with Boston. They got to get there. If they don't get there, then it'll be a disappointing season. So yeah. Yoni continues, every team with a good offense will torch us. Tibbs will never adjust. I love you guys being optimistic, but I really feel bad about what's coming. Tibbs is trying. It's not like, it's not like Tibbs isn't trying different coverages. Like in this game alone, he did 3 different things. He dropped, he trapped, he switched a little bit. Like he is trying to find what works here. It's a complicated personnel defensively, and one of the stars that he expected to have defensively isn't playing like it. So we could always put it on the coach. I've been critical of some things with the coach this year. I didn't like how consistently he was in drop early. I think he's already starting to come out of that a little bit. And I think he needs Mikal Bridges to be great on defense to make this a good defense. So I don't know. I think he's adjusting. I think he's trying to find it. I think he's toying with different things, and we have to give it 20 games. That's what I think. Thanks, Yoni. Joseph J. What's up, yo, Joseph? Is Tibbs, Jackson, or Kerr with this roster potential? I don't think Tibbs is like a revolutionary offensive coach the way Steve Kerr is or was when he came. So in that sense, maybe he's more like Jackson, but I think he's a much better coach than much better coach than Mark Jackson.
It's not close.
And I think, thank you, Andrew. And I think that he has made more adjustments and changed his ways and more than people give him credit for. And I don't think they make this trade without him thinking that he can get the most out of Cat. Like if Tibbs was so stubborn about this, like he wouldn't have okayed this. And I think he okayed it. Thanks, Joseph. Zach Horowitz. Super sticker.
He put in a sticker in the chat that said coming soon. I don't know what that means, but it's what he said. Thank you, Zach. If you have another chat coming in, by all means, please say something and we'll put it up there. The final 3 are from Robert Cross.
All right, Robert Cross, let's do this. Big Thread Benjamin. 2 questions. Does Mitch figure more than people think? Does Mitch figure more? Is he mean like he's going to figure in more than people think? Like he's going to be more of a part of this team than people think? If that's the question, Robert, I'm sorry if I'm not understanding it. I frankly, I would be surprised. Not surprised. Let's put it this way. I would not be surprised if he played no role on this team. Whether that means because he never gets back healthy, whether that means because he gets traded. It just wouldn't surprise me at all. So I guess the answer to that question for me would be no. If he is around when he gets healthy, I think he could play a part. I think a much smaller part than he's used to, but I think he could play a part. But he's got to get back and get healthy and get conditioned again. And for him, that takes a long time, man. It's unfortunate. I feel badly because Mitch has been great for this team in this franchise, and he's been a big factor in its turnaround, like underratedly so. We talk a lot about Randall and we talk a lot about Brunson and Tibbs. Mitchell Robinson's been through it, all of it, man, and he's meant a lot. Goofball that he is. He's a really good player when he's healthy and right. And I hope that there's still something left there. And that he will play a part. I hope so. We'll see. And then what do you think is wrong with Bridges? We've been through talking about it a lot. I don't know. The jump shot is, I think he's talked about how the form he's working on his form, and you can see the form isn't consistent, and that's the offensive side. Defensively, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. I'm a bit flabbergasted, to be honest. So maybe I pride myself on having answers about basketball when I'm asked questions, but when it comes to like a great defensive player still theoretically in his prime, not seeming to have that ability anymore, I don't know. Like, theories, went to Brooklyn, became more of an offensive player, and kind of just like lost that drive and lost that focus and hasn't recovered it yet. That's the best I got. But I don't know otherwise. He's got to find it, though. Thank you, Robert. Robert's back. Big Thread Benjamin. Are we at the point we can blame Kevin Danishevsky for the Bridges acquisition? Oh, we've been there for a month. We've been there for a month. Guys, everything Danishevsky touches turns to Mikal Bridges' defense. Thanks for that, Robert. Big Thread Benjamin. How about Hart moving to the 3, OG to the 4, and Deuce to the 2, Bridges to the bench? So, I was alluding to that earlier, that if there's a wing that deserves to go to the bench, it's not Josh Hart, it's Mikal Bridges. It's not happening. This is where politics play in. First of all, let me back up. It shouldn't happen yet anyway, because Mikal Bridges we know the potential he has to be a huge part of this team and a great player. So it shouldn't happen yet regardless. We're 25, 30 games in and he's still not playing well. And theoretically, it might make sense to replace him with Deuce. It's still not happening this year. It's not happening for the entire year because they just traded a freaking boatload for him. And that's how it works, man. Like, you cannot bench him. No way. No way. Robert again, Big Third Benjamin. If you don't have a Bridges answer on D, who does? I don't know. Bridges. Someone ask him. I don't know the answer. Someone should ask him.
By the way, Zach posted a super sticker of a hot dog, but it just says super sticker on our end.
Okay.
And apparently there's a glitch in the YouTube app in his YouTube app that's not letting him send super chat. So he just wanted to contribute.
Zach, you're the man.
Thank you, Zach. And this is what he wanted to say, is that Cat will be second team All-NBA at this rate.
Oh, yeah.
Keeps this up.
That first team center position. Oh, it's positionless now. But theoretically, that first team center position is taken. But yeah, I would say I have to go down the Tatum's first team right now. Lock. Jokic's first team lock.
Giannis.
Shea is first team lock. Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis.
First team lock. None of the Philly guys.
Julius Randle. Portland up 11, by the way.
No way.
Up 9 with someone. Oh, no, it didn't go in. Up 9 with someone at the line, with Anthony Simons at the line.
Oh, my God. So many injuries also are going to play a part, right? Like, Cat right now is for sure a top 10. I would think a top 10 player this year, right? Oh,
think so.
I mean, the Cavs guys will be interesting because they've been splitting up the responsibility so much. I don't know if you get a first teamer in there. Like I don't think Mitchell's stats quite measure up yet. Like I think
Doesn't, but the ceremonial like Tatum last year, like even if they're like Brunson might
right.
technically be better, you gotta have someone on
Yeah, you
first
might.
team.
You might. I don't think Halliburton's played up to that level. I don't think anyone else in the Eastern Conference. Who else is good in the West? Luka's first team for
Luka,
sure.
yeah.
Once I mean, he hasn't been himself yet, but he'll have a run at some point. And it'll be obvious.
Let's see what Wemby does after this
Yeah,
game
maybe
tonight.
Wemby gets going, but I think Luka will for sure be a lock. But we've named 5 or 6 guys. I mean, we're not getting to 10 before we talk about like guys who've been better than Cat. I don't think.
Did you say the guy who currently leads the NBA in scoring, Anthony Davis?
No, but
No,
he's not going to play enough games by the end of it.
Oh, if that's the calculation, then I agree. But
Yeah,
in 9 games, he's got 31 points a game.
Yeah, he's really good. That's about it. But yeah, second team All NBA, I think, is very much in the cards for Sir Cat. Yeah,
we didn't name 5 guys having better years than him so far offensively.
No,
that's for sure.
No, he's been ridiculous offensively, ridiculously good. Everything he could have wanted, expected, he's been spectacular. Tonight was fun. Fun to watch him play.
One more.
All right, last one. Brad Schenker. How do you sleep after that? I am going to sleep right when I get in my bed. I'm so tired. Man, I'll tell you, like, Jalen Brunson's probably not going to sleep. Josh Hart's probably not going to sleep very well.
Cat's going to be shooting free throws in his dreams.
It's rough, man. Yeah, losing those games is rough. It's just rough because there's literally you go back to every play that you could have made to make a difference, and there are probably 10 in a game that you could have done one thing differently and changed the outcome. It's crushing. As a fan, I gotta go to work tomorrow.
You ever lose a buzzer beater or a close game like that in playing?
Yeah. How about this? In my senior year in college, we're playing Mount St. Vincent, who was our big rival, and it was a night I scored my 1,000th college point. Humble brag. And don't worry, it's D3, everyone. Relax. And so my whole family's there. A bunch of friends are there. It's like a big night for me. And we're up 2. I miss a free throw late. I went 1 for 2 from the line at some point. And their big man, who was a really good player, like makes a buzzer beater 3 from the top of the key. And I'm standing like Josh Hart tonight. I'm standing right under the basket as it falls in. That was the worst loss of my career. That was brutal. That was brutal. Yeah. Never forget it. That's what I mean. Like I think about the players and how like they deal with something like that. It's just a rough feeling when you know you could have done 100 things to win the game, and this is the only way that the outcome goes as it goes. And it's rough. It's a tough game. But the beautiful thing about the NBA is the games don't stop coming, man. They're gonna have to bounce back against Brooklyn. So let's hope they do.
I think my worst loss is baseball. All my bad losses are baseball that I remember, at least. Yeah. I got one bad loss where go ahead run is trying to steal third. I was a catcher, so go ahead run's trying to steal third, and I had him dead to rights, and I just airmailed it, and like the winning run walked home with me there and them celebrating around me.
I know everyone wants to hear Division III war stories. Here's my last story. Connecticut College. We're playing an out-of-conference game. They're really good. My senior year, I made the tying shot in, I think, regulation and the first overtime. And they scored. We fouled them on a 3, like Josh Hart, to send the game after I made the tying shot. Sorry, I made a shot to go up by 3, a 3. And we foul a 3-point shooter. He makes all 3 at the end of the regulation. And then at the end of the first overtime, I make a tying shot. And they make a layup at the buzzer to win. Yeah.
No loss is worse than what Spo did last night, though.
That's crazy.
That's for sure.
For a coach, that's a crazy thing for a coach to lose a game.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And the best coach.
Like
imagine that.
Him of all coaches. Him.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And the fact that Jalen Rose was there.
That's the best part. That
Amazing.
compounded it, where his face being like, "Really? I'm in the building
man.
for another one."
It's crazy. That was really funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That was crazy. So yeah, it's a tough one, but hey, I hope that we got some optimism out of this post game because I think there's what to be optimistic about. I still have hope in this team. I think they have work to do, but I think they showed a lot in terms of what's in there, what's in the spirit of this team. So that's exciting. And yeah, thank you, Andrew, for hanging out with me all night. Thank you all for tuning in to the post-game show presented by BetUS. And please, for our sake, like the video, subscribe to our channel, leave a 5-star rating. Wherever you are listening, it helps us get the word out for all the good work that we do over here. Thank you, John, for giving me some space to talk for a while about this team. I love doing it. And thanks all for tuning in. We'll talk soon.